is in the news. Everybody's talking about the short squeeze and what's going on in the market. What do you do about that stuff? Find out today on this episode of Friends Talk Financial Planning. Hi, I'm John Scherer, and I run a fee-only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin.
And I'm Bridget Sullivan Mermel, and I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. So, John, this GameStop story caught my attention because I feel like it has heroes and villains like a lot of great fairy tales.
That's a great analogy, and it's interesting. And I don't know the exact numbers, but you read in the newspaper, it was, GameStop up 80%, up 100%. There's a couple local companies we were talking about, Koss headphones out of Milwaukee. They're up
Right.
400% in the last 2 weeks. The Citadel down by
Citadel is
you,
like
right?
down. They're
And,
bad. Yeah.
and it's like, okay, so what do you say when somebody asks you, what do I do about this, or brings that issue up in the short squeeze and what's going on? What's your reaction to that? What kind of advice do you give?
First, I tried to explain my perception of what's happening. So, GameStop is a company that I think some people have fond feelings for because they're of the age where they used to go to GameStop when they were kids and buy the latest games. Right. So it's GameStop. And so now they're getting older, and GameStop, they're worried that it's going to go the way of Toys R Us, and so and it did seem to be heading toward bankruptcy, but then there was some
Yeah,
good news too, so it's kind of a mixed bag. But some alert people on a particular Reddit site, Reddit forum, saw that some big hedge funds, bad guys, were, villains, uh,
right.
were shorting the GameStop shares, which means they were betting on them to go down. Okay. And it got to the point there were so many bets that they had bet more than could possibly be covered. So the people on the forum said, we are going to drive up the price and make sure this bet does not pay for these hedge funds. Okay. And then other people got linked in, like Citadel, which was one of our Chicago companies. Again, kind of probably, I think people have a negative attitude about them because they don't really know what they do. And they're intermediaries in this whole thing. And then Robinhood got involved because they stopped trading on both GameStop and some of these other tickers, like Koss headphones. And I'm not positive that Robinhood stopped Koss. I'm just trying to give the broad outline
Sure.
of what seemed to happen. So Robinhood was in a difficult position because their whole marketing proposition seems to be, we're giving the little investor the tools of the big investors, i.e. like hedge funds, and so them stopping trading seemed to be in conflict with them. They were acting more like the big guy instead of the Robinhood. So they were acting more establishment than Robinhood, and so people were upset about that too. So there's a lot to dissect and some enough local angles. Like a lot of people don't realize this, but Chicago and Madison are actually pretty close together, but there's different local stories. So
Yeah.
there's lot to say about it, and market manipulation stories. They seem to come out every 10 years or so, and they're kind of interesting, especially when, because people want to kind of see behind the scenes, and they also think that something nebulous is going on behind the scenes. So,
Well, it's interesting as I hear you talk. I loved your analogy of the fairy tale and what goes on, kind of the story and the idea that it comes up periodically, right? This particular thing is new, but the idea is not new of what's going on. And so that's interesting to me as I think about that question of like, what do you do? It's not, oh, this is brand new. It's another version of the same fairy tale, as you say. And then the other side is you've got the bad guys, depending on who's viewing it. The hedge funds are the bad guys, the big corporations that are doing this. Or on the other side, you see some news and it's, well, these people that are from the Reddit boards and things, they're the
right,
bad guys that are doing
right.
things. And it's sort of, tells me to take things with a grain of salt, like who's wearing the white hats and who's wearing the black hats. It depends on your point of view, and there's probably something in the middle that makes sense, as the real story. But then from a practical standpoint, can you talk about like, okay, so we've got these moving parts but then like, what do you do? Should I be in? You see some of these folks and they're invested at $50 a share. Now it's at $400 a share. And
Maybe
like,
it's
oh,
money,
I
yeah.
missed, but I missed out on that. What do I, how do I get in? How do I take advantage? What do I do about this? How do you talk about that stuff? Or how do you think about it yourself even?
Well, if you can resist, sit out. If you can't resist and you're like, this seems like too much fun, this is my kind of fun, I really want to get involved in this, then 10% of your portfolio max. Play around with this stuff. But this is worse than going to Vegas, as far as I'm concerned, because you got to respect the brain power and the lobbying power and everything of these hedge funds and private equity and private capital. Like, you have to respect these people because they have a lot. And so,
Plus,
we talked in a previous.
there's no free
Yeah,
drinks on Robinhood, right? At
exactly.
least you get a drink or a meal
Yeah.
or something in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
right?
And so we were talking about in Vegas, the odds are 55% to the house to 45% to you. In the general stock market, it's 75% to you,
Yeah, 25 the other direction. Yep.
25% the other direction. This is a previous episode, both in the stock predictions and the lottery episode. But this is probably worse. I don't have the exact numbers, but this is the probability is probably worse. So I was thinking about this morning when I was feeding my fish, and I was thinking about how the fish, and I'm going to share my fish. This is how the fish, you can see in my fish tank, I've got a diver and I've got a treasure chest on the bottom. But when I feed the fish, they're just going after the food at the top.
Those
They're
little
just at
blobs
the
on the top.
very, very top. They're just looking at the top. This news is like the very top. And we want to be thinking about the planning. Any kind of person that, any type of time I've heard about somebody actually getting treasure, it's taken a lot of planning and a lot of thinking through. It's not a one off, oh, I'm paying attention to GameStop, now I'm going to make my fortune.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's how I think of it too. And I love that image of the like pellets falling on the water for the fish, and it makes that noise, and they come up and get it, right? Like so much of news in our world anyway is the white noise and taking that long run. And it's not to say that people don't make money, right? Some people have made money on these things when the noise comes, whether it's what's going on now with the GameStop issues or others. But the reliable way, as I think about it, like the people that have won the game, it's probably 10 to 1 that they did the basics. They did the saving and did all. And then, yeah, there's 10% of the people that listened to the noise and took advantage, but that's not the reliable way to get ahead. And it's not part of the long-term plan, and having a plan and sticking to it is so important. And I love that image in your fish tank, the diver, right? Planning the dive and going to get the
Right.
gold. Like that's the reliable way to get there. Not that you can't get it other places. And I guess as I think about wrapping up, like how to think about this as my takeaways from this are that it is really, it's white noise. It doesn't impact you. You don't have to participate. And if it's fun, yeah, take some of that gambling money, right? 5 or 10% of your portfolio, do some things. But like the serious money is where your diver is. That's the thing that doesn't listen
Right.
to that noise. So that I guess would be my takeaways for our viewers here. What about you? Is anything else that you have as far as takeaways or how to think
That
about this?
really summarizes it for me too. I just like to mention to people that if you subscribe to our channel, that helps other people find us. So you'd be doing us a favor and you'd be helping other people find us. And also, John and I are both members of ACP, or the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners. We're a non-for-profit group that helps individuals all over the country with financial planning, and it's a lot of the thinking that we're talking about here. So with that, we'll wrap up. Thanks, John.
That's great. Thanks, Bridget.